Hello, Dr. Brant Hulsebus here, and welcome to another edition of Ask the Chiropractor. Ask the Chiropractor is my little podcast that I do when someone has a question about chiropractic or chiropractic care. I try to answer. I'm a chiropractor here in Rockford, Illinois. I'm a proud graduate of Palmer College of Chiropractic, and I'm happy to be the team chiropractor of the Rockford Ice Hogs. Let's dive into it. Hello, and thanks for tuning in. This week we want to talk about some of the early first signs that your back's about to flare up. People come to me a lot of times and ask this question: are there any indicators that would tell me to hurry up and get in and see you before it gets this bad? Basically, they've come to see me, they can barely stand up straight, they're in lots of pain, and they know this whole week's going to be miserable because their back's gone out. They want to know, what can I do preventatively to see you? So they'll be here. I'm a chiropractor here in Rockford, Illinois. We're in the Illinois-Wisconsin border, right in the middle of the state of Illinois. And we get snowfalls and stuff like that here in the wintertime. And a lot of people will come in to see me before it snows. A lot of people come see me right before they go golfing, because we have good golfing in the summertime. But what about all those other times? How do I know when to go see the chiropractor before my back pain flares up? How am I supposed to know when to get checked? What are some things that tells me my back is about to go out? What are some early signs of back injury? Maybe just some back stiffness. Is that a warning sign? So let's break down a little bit about this, and let me try to explain it to you in the eyes of a chiropractor. So my goal here is to teach all of you early signs instead of waiting for severe pain. The pain doesn't come from just anywhere. Most people will come in and tell me I didn't do anything, I just happened, or they'll spend a whole bunch of time trying to figure out what one activity they might have done yesterday that had this happen. I have somebody say, I don't know, I bent over, picked something up, I can't believe my back went out. And, I can't either. It's got to be more than just that. We're meant to bend over, pick something up. It doesn't create horrible lower back pain and sciatica all in one motion. The exception to this, obviously, is I fell down the stairs or I had some type of trauma. We talk a lot in chiropractic about thoughts, traumas, and toxins cause your back to go out, whether it's a trauma, like I said, I got a car accident, I fell, that's easy. Toxins, I ate really bad food, I got sick, threw up a lot, you got a system problem, or maybe you just been eating too much of that food that Secretary Kennedy's trying to ban. That's a lot of toxins in there too, right? Or maybe you just had a lot of stress. Those are the easy ones. But when you just live in your everyday life and all of a sudden you have all this pain, how did this happen? Why did this happen to me? Well, we talk a lot about a vertebral subluxation. That's when one or two of your bones in your spine misalign. And when they misalign, the body recognizes this as a stressful event, and what happens is subconsciously the body locks those vertebrae down, therefore you can't damage them anymore. Well, the problem is the spine is, even though it's got all these different bones, they all move in fluid. So if one area of your spine is like leaning to the left and part of your other spine has to lean to the right, now you've altered your biomechanics and you're starting to create more stress in your spine than you should have. The chiropractor's job is to find those misalignments and use a chiropractic adjustment to correct those, to help you go back to normal biomechanics of your spine. And most importantly, this whole process, we help the nervous system work and behave better, because those misalignments occur. There is a stress response that's indicated at that level, and that stress response affects that entire nerve. With that being said, what are some of our indicators this might be going on, but we don't feel it yet? It's not bad enough that it's yelling at us. Well, maybe you just report having muscles that are tight all the time. Like, I'm always tight between my shoulders. I'm always tight here. My lower back feels tight. I feel like I got to loosen it up a lot. Maybe someone notices that you're moving different, right? Maybe if your hip flexors on one side are tight because your back's misaligned, your stride has changed. Maybe you're taking a big step and a small step. Maybe you look at your feet and you notice one foot's in, one foot's deviated out when you're laying down. That's what we look for in you when we watch you. We watch the way you walk, we watch the way you lay down, we watch the way your feet line up. Maybe your coordination's off. Maybe all of a sudden you feel like you're becoming klutzy, or you don't have the same coordination you had at the gym. Like, I go out to the gym in the mornings and I exercise, and maybe I feel like I keep stumbling. Maybe I feel like I'm having a hard time just doing the same exercise routine I've done a lot of times. Maybe we got a coordination of drops, you're just just feel like you're out of sync. Your nervous system isn't working and firing the way it's supposed to. Maybe your fatigue is increased dramatically, because your fatigue would kick in now because you have a lot of muscles doing extra work to try to protect your spine, which will make you fatigue out faster. These are indicators that something's not wrong. Something needs to get checked. Something's not behaving the way it's supposed to. Pain is the last thing to come, not the first. So when all these things start happening, we start to notice that your body's not functioning right. Let's go over some of the most common ones. I wake up in the morning, it takes me longer than normal to get loosened up and get going. I have a hard time. Those first 20 steps are now becoming, into the shower now a little bit after the shower. Or, it used to take me 5 minutes to warm up, now it's taking longer. Maybe you have reoccurring tightness in the exact same spot over and over again. Like it's always right here between my shoulders, or it's always right here on my left side of my hip. I feel it all the time now. It used to just be once in a while, but it seems to be happening more and more. That's protective gardening. Your body's trying to protect that spot. Something's not right there. Maybe you just feel unlevel. Remember I talked about the righting reflex, left and right, the righting reflex. If something goes to the left, something else has to go to the right to balance you back off. So you would feel uneven, you'd feel shifted. A lot of people tell me they see themselves in the mirror and they look like their clothes are on crooked, even though they feel like they're on straight. Reduced range of motion. All of a sudden things are a little further away. It's getting tougher for me to bend or twist and grab something. I feel like I can't move as far as I used to. And lastly, but not least, it's just fatigue. Because all these muscles are working overtime. Your fatigue isn't making it, and you're getting more tired at the end of the day, and you just feel like you're a little more beat up at the end of the day. That's a huge indicator that something's going on. It's a lot that your spine's trying to work hard, but it's got so many stressors against it that the stressors are catching up and they're winning, and you're losing, and pain's coming. It's gonna say enough's enough and quit. Some of the signs that people ignore is that your symptoms can come and go. So it's like, okay, well, it's not bothering me today, so it must have fixed itself. It must have taken care of itself. Like, it was really bad on Thursday, but I didn't feel it on Friday, so I didn't think there was any reason to call you. And now it's Sunday afternoon, I'm doing an emergency call because something's wrong. Well, should have called me on Thursday, because Thursday was your first clue something was wrong. And it's bad, but it's not like sharp. It's not like stabbing me yet. It's not like traveling down my leg yet. It's just a little lower back pain. It'll probably go away on its own. No, it probably won't. It's there asking for help. Otherwise people just tell me they're just too busy to deal with it. Well, it'll make you deal with it eventually. So, I tell my golfers once before or 6 times after, meaning like, hey, I felt a little stiff before I went golfing. Thought I would try to golf, and I figured I'd mess it up while I'm golfing, and I'll save myself a visit to you afterwards. It's always better to see me 1 time before than 6 times after, right? Another way we justify this is like, when I let it rest for a little while, it goes away. So if it can go away after I let it rest, it must not be too bad. In reality, this is a signal that it's going to keep getting worse and worse. It's going to take more and more rest, and the rest is going to become ineffective after a while. So these are just huge clues that something's going on. So the progression usually goes from, it's a little stiff, now the muscles are guarding it, now I'm building up inflammation, now I'm in pain. Now I'm going to come see you now that I'm all inflamed and the muscles are irritated, the joints are swollen. Now I want you to do it, and I hope it goes away in 1 visit because I waited this long. So when you start feeling that stiffness, you start feeling that guarding, those are times to hurry up and come and see us, because it's a lot less work for us and you, right? Because the inflammation, once this builds up, the inflammation literally takes up space. And if you have a joint capsule involved in this, that inflammation is going to crowd that joint capsule and get in the way of it healing. That's why we tell you to ice like crazy, get the inflammation down so we have room to make the fixes that we have to make. So coming to see us early, you're going to see a faster recovery. You're going to see fewer missed activities later, right? If you wait to the point where you're hunched over in pain, you're home next week, you ain't not doing much. You're going to just be in pain the whole week. I'm going to work on you. I'm going to try to make you better. But you missed the opportunity to maybe get it corrected in 1 or 2 adjustments versus being here every day for a week and having the whole week of you just laying around doing nothing. So if you're worried about falling behind one day, just keep in mind you might fall behind an entire week. So, and plus we know going to see the chiropractor, it doesn't take that long. I always tease I'm the only doctor it takes longer to drive to than the time you spend with me once you're an established patient. So, faster recovery, and not only that, but, there's nerve damage there too, right? When that hits that nerve has to heal itself every time. And the more times that nerve gets healed, you develop a thing called neuroplasticity, where that nerve learns how to behave wrongly, and it gets easier for that nerve to behave wrongly. There's also muscle plasticity, where it learns to misbehave the wrong way. And these little misalignments become more permanent. They become more frequent. They become quicker for your body to remember how to do it the longer you hold them. So going to get it looked at right away before it has too much time to develop this negative muscle memory, that's a pretty good idea. So again, treating is early prevention. It's not always maintenance, right? Like you might say, well, I go in like once a month for maintenance, but today I overdid this, I overdid that, and now I'm having some early signs of something going on. You want to get in early, get it treated early. I have a lot of people that choose to come see me for maintenance so they don't have these flare-ups. I have other people that choose to come. The ones who come in when they start feeling the symptoms early, I see them a lot less than the ones who decide to wait till a Foley goes out and they're in an acute situation, and now they're coming in lots. So when your back hurts, So who does this apply to? This applies to people with recurring back issues. If you've had back issues more than once in your life, you've had to get care for it, you need to be more proactive about getting in the moment you start to feel it, because you already have that muscle memory. This includes young adults. You're not immune to this. Everybody gets older every day. And lastly, the people with that once a year they come in with a flare-up. I've been doing this for 23 years. I see you once a year, I see you again in 16 months, I see you again in 9 months, I see you again in a year, then I see you in 6 months, then I see you in 4 months, then I see you in 3 months. Now it's time to get more serious about what's going on. So if you've been having that flare up more and more, you need to get more serious about coming back in. All right, so I hope that I wrapped that up. Remember, if you have questions about chiropractic or chiropractic care, the only person qualified to answer your questions would be a chiropractor. No other healthcare studies what we study or the way we study it. So they're all uneducated and unqualified to answer questions about chiropractic. Wherever you're watching or listening to this, you can click on the link to my website to learn more. I do one of these every week. There's tons of topics. I probably have already answered your question. But if I have not answered your question, feel free to leave a comment wherever you're watching or listening to this. And maybe next week you'll be the question of the week. Thank you for tuning in.